Good afternoon, I'm Damian Jones from H&H Classics. We're here this afternoon, just on the eve of our 30th anniversary auction, so we're all very excited about that. We've got over 200 cars in the auction, so a big entry, and some really fantastic machinery. So this is the preview day. We're open for viewing. We've got quite a few people around us already. And we can start with the two star cars behind me. We've got a Fiat 2400 Spider and a Bentley 4.5 litre. The Fiat famously shares its compact V6 engine with the Ferrari Dino 246 GTS. So it's an exquisite Pininfarina design, very pretty, very distinctive quad headlamp front, just a very nicely proportioned sports car. And at the other end of the scale, we've got the ex-Prince George Imeratinski, I think I've got that right, Bentley 4.5 litre. That's a car that he had modified when it was new to run on low octane fuel because he had quite a lot of interest on the continent. It's since been restored in the 1990s and beautifully done. I mean, you would be hard pushed to know that that restoration is getting on for 30 years old now. So a very nice thing. When you fire it up, it's got that distinctive bloody thump, as they call it, of the big 4.5 litre 4-cylinder engine. A spectacular noise, a great driving sensation, and much quicker than it looks. Going a little more modern, we've got this, possibly the world's prettiest fire engine, as in it's a Mercedes-Benz 190 SL, but the original paint code, which I think is DB54, decodes as fire engine. So that's what Mercedes to it. This is a UK car. Now it's very rare as a UK car. I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe only 53 190 SLs were UK supplied in right-hand drive. This car spent the vast majority of its life in Surrey. The vendor and his car, well, gosh, back into the 70s. So that's part of the reason he bought it. And because he's known two of the previous long-term keepers, he's confident that that car has done the 29,000 miles it's showing on its odometer. It's recently been painted, as you can see, retrimmed, drives very nicely. Just a lovely, very stylish thing. And, you know, looks-wise, these aren't far off their W198 300 SL Roadster siblings, but they're about a tenth of the price. So that is a lovely thing. Next to it, one of the several Series 1 fixed head E-types that we've got. This particular car, been painted black a long time, wasn't always black, but again, presents as an older restoration, and they're still just such an iconic shape, such a beautiful thing to look at. Next to it, we've got a Pagoda. Again, unusual in that it's a right-hand drive UK supplied car. Also unusual that it's the 4 manual. So these are, the 230 SLs are that much lighter than the 250 and 280 that came after them. They've got slightly stiffer springing, so they're a bit more of a sprightly car to drive. This one has got its hard top in place and a soft top roof as well. Again, I think this one's been in the current family ownership since the 1970s. Next to that, we've got a Healey 104. It's been upgraded in more recent years to M specification. It's still in left-hand drive. It's one of the first 1,000 bodies, first 1,000 cars. So a lot of alloy panels on it. You can see it's been very nicely restored. And yeah, that is a shape that to me holds its own against an E-type. They are very elegant machines. Next to that, we've got an Aston Vantage. This is a car that's been much loved and much campaigned by the current family. You can see it's got classic marathon sticker in the window, been gone through a lot, prepared as an event car. It's one of several that we've been very grateful to have as a collection from the Pilo family. And again, those DB2 Vantages, they are potentially Mille Storica eligible. Just a lovely classic car with that W.O. Bentley and Willie Watson design 2.6 litre straight six. So a good amount of performance. Obviously not as fast as a Ferrari 512 TR. This particular car has had an awful lot of money spent on it. The owner is fastidious. He made a great point car for telling us that he just had the alloy wheels refurbished. So it's a very impressive thing. And this one has had a slightly colourful history, which is why the guide price is a fraction of what they typically are. It was involved in a minor accident a number of years ago, but has been properly repaired. All that is documented and on file and been done by a marque specialist. This car here is a Porsche 964 Cabriolet. 964, very these days. They went through a period of not being quite so appreciated. This is unusual for several reasons. One, it's a UK car, which makes it that much rarer. Two, I believe it's only about 18,000 miles from you, it might be 15, 18 anyway. It is a low mileage car. And finally, we believe it's in a special order colour. So we think that has been through the Porsche Sonderwünschen Special Wishes department. So quite a spectacular beast. And then next to that, we've got another big Healey, but one of the 6-cylinder cars. So that, again, left-hand drive, been in America much of its life, nicely restored, a good usable machine, a little bit more ground clearance than the earlier 104 cars, a few more creature comforts, so you've got wind-up windows. Next to that, something that we will not see the likes of again. It's an Aston Martin DB1, but not just any DB1, it's chassis number 8 that was remade at some stage of its life, we believe in the late 50s, possibly early 60s, by Swallow, the coach building company that had links to SS cars and also their own Swallow Duretti sports car. And it was subsequently owned by an Aston Martin engineer. He fitted a 2.6 litre DB2 engine in there. I believe he fitted a DB3S gearbox. Campaigned the car quite extensively in Aston Martin Owners Club events. And it's been in current ownership for many years and now ripe for restoration and return to the circuit. Jaguar XK140, again, a left-hand drive car, older restoration. This one, I believe, has had a few mechanical modifications just to spruce the performance a bit. These are such a pretty shape. I mean, Jaguar, you have to look at it. We've got a recreation of an SS100 over there, but you've got the SS100, you've got the XK120, 140, 150 series, and the E-Type. I mean, 3 generations of iconic, beautiful sports cars. So another E-Type here, beautiful thing in and of itself, but you know, we've got a few in the sale, so that again is an older restoration. And next to it, another real rarity, an Alfa Romeo 2600 Spider in right-hand drive. So these are hen's teeth in right-hand drive. They're not that common in left-hand drive. This was a very advanced car for its time and fiendishly expensive in the UK. So this was Alfa Romeo's last straight-six double overhead cam engine, 2.6 litres as the name suggests, 5-speed gearbox, disc brakes, so they're pretty advanced thing. And styling-wise, it was a product of touring. So if you think it looks a little bit like an Aston Martin DB4 convertible, you're not wrong. Next to that, another stunning convertible, an Aston Martin Virage. Now, this car, my colleague Julian consigned. He is a concours judge and he raves about the condition, and it does have an amazing service history. And I believe it's one of one painted in this colour. So again, something really rather special about it. So that is a rather lovely, I don't know, bluey, greeny, turquoisey sort of effect. Behind it, a Ford Thunderbird, which again, proper American icon, a real classic. This one's slightly unusual. It's a manual gearbox car, older restoration. It's just great fun. I mean, nothing screams Americana more than a 55 to 57 T-Bird. Well, maybe almost nothing. How about a General Lee? A Charger. This is a car that was invited to the UK premiere of the Dukes of Hazzard film and photographed. And I think pictures of various cast members on the centre console. The current owners spent about £70,000 restoring it to this condition. So a spectacular thing. It has got the trademark horn and just a lovely V8 burble. We've got 2 Shelby Mustangs. I mean, these are rare enough in themselves. We've got the 500 version in black. So that's got the 428 cubic inch V8 engine. This one, you can see it's been painted a long time ago, not much done to it recently. Vendor brought it over from the States. He's got a real passion for American cars, and they are such an icon. I mean, these were the 60s performance American car for a lot of people. As if one Shelby Mustang wasn't enough, we've got 2. So this is the 350 version. So Shelby, by this stage, wanted to emphasize performance. So the earlier cars The model nomenclature gave an indication as to engine size, as in a number relating to cubic inches. This is perceived horsepower. This car, it's been put to us as a sort of conservation class machine, and yeah, just very original. Yes, it's a little bit knocked about here and there, but if you want that sort of authentic experience, it is very much there. So it's, again, like the GT500, it's an auto. You've got that pure sort of black vinyl and faux wood trim effect that was all the rage in the late 60s. You've got gauges galore, so all you're missing is the soundtrack, which if you fired the ignition key up, you would more than get. So great fun, and a complete contrast, if you like, to the Invicta 4.5 litre that we have over here. So Invicta were short-lived, Noel Macklin's concern, but they really wanted to major on build quality. And so they were very, very nicely engineered machines. The 4.5 litre, now that is powered by a Meadows straight six engine. Interestingly, the Meadows straight six that Invicta used, one of their S-type sports cars, which is quite closely related to this high chassis car, won the Monte Carlo Rally. And then the engine was so good that Lagonda used it, and Lagonda in 1935 won the Le Mans 24 Hours with a Meadows powered car. So, speaking of Lagonda, we've got a 2 litre supercharged car next to it, and that is particularly original machine. Understand that has got the original factory coachwork and a lovely, lovely history behind it. So these were the Arthur Davidson designed 4-cylinder 2 litres, but with a supercharger on top. So they were getting on for a 100-mile-an-hour car, which was serious performance in the late 20s, early 30s. And just, again, classic vintage feel. This is, I believe, one of the T3 models with the slightly bigger boot area or tail for more luggage space behind the seats. And as you can see, an older restoration, but in lovely, lovely order. Slightly fresher is this Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud 3 H.J. Mulliner Park Ward Flying Spur called. They weren't officially known as a Flying Spur, but the design was shared with the Bentley that's right next door to it, which was known as the Flying Spur. So hence the Rolls-Royce version. Now the Rolls-Royce is that little bit rarer than the Bentley. We've got to have, as again, with the Shelby Mustangs, we're spoilt to have two. With these two H.J. Mulliner Park Ward cars, again, spoilt to have two. This has come over from a collector in the Isle of Man. My colleague actually went to the ferry and drove it back to the office. So, you know, in good order from that perspective, as is the, to be honest, that was driven down from North Norfolk. So it's did about 100 miles to get here. An older restoration, the Rolls-Royce. It's got its original leather upholstery, which I think is just delightful. And then you've just got the choices whether you're a Bentley boy or a Rolls man. Again, as I mentioned, we have this SS100 Special. Now, this is an interesting car. It was built by David Barber, who was formerly a renowned SS specialist. You've actually got Barber's name cheekily incorporated in the badge, with help from Terry Rowing, who was a fantastic. In fact, Terry Rowing Automotive Component Track came up with the design that Suffolk then bought for their SS100 copies. So nicely detailed machine. It's come from long-term ownership. It's got a correct pre-war SS 3.5 litre straight six engine. The chassis is from an SS airline that's been shortened to correct specification. So a lot of period correct bits on it. It's correctly registered with the DVLA. It did once run with a supercharger, which must have been a very wary machine, but so pretty. Here we have the Bristol Wingfield Special. This was designed and built by the late Brian Wingfield, who in his way was as good as Eric Broadley or Colin Chapman in engineering terms. Didn't get the same sort of recognition, didn't go on to found Lola or Lotus, but this was his second competition car, and it has come from the May family. The late Brian May was a great Bristol aficionado and collector and restorer, and they've had it for an awful long time. It campaigned in period. You've got the 2 litre Bristol straight six engine there, and raced at various sprints and hill climbs and circuits up and down the UK. wonderful patina to it, and still an exciting entrant for historic racing. So, and I think I can just see a signature there as a finishing touch. So again, an unusual and lovely to have it here. One of the great things about working for H&H is the sheer diversity of machinery that we're asked to sell. So we've got everything here from, in the white corner, a Ferrari California with carbon pack when it was new, all sorts of extras. I mean, this had almost everything but the kitchen sink chucked at it, lots of dealer bits and pieces, so that was over £200,000 when new, and still a very striking looking sports car. And then complete contrast, one of the, I think, 40 odd Alvis Speed 20 SBs to be bodied as a Tourer by Van den Pla, and that car's been to America and back from long-term family ownership. They've had it since the late 90s. They've taken it to New Zealand, America, all over Europe and the UK. Just a glorious thing. It was driven to the auction again, and it's just got a lovely, lovely feel to it. But a fabulous contrast with the Ferrari. And then behind us, a Rolls-Royce Phantom 3. Again, that's from the Pilo collection. They've been kind enough to give us several cars. And that has the famously smooth and quiet V12 engine. Literally, when that fires up, you have to struggle to know that it's running. So just a wonderful, wonderful thing. But even if you have a quick sweep around here, you can see a truly glorious mix of pre-war cars and modern sports cars. And that's just, as I say, part of the diversity and the range. And we feel very lucky to be asked by so many clients to sell such a great range of machinery. Well, we're outside now. We've got 3 big clear span marquees here, so we've got the vast majority of the cars undercover. Thankfully, tomorrow looks like it's going to be a lovely day. Behind us, we've got great selection of Jeeps and a Champ. So the darker of the two, the dark green one, is very, very unusual because that is known to have been supplied to the British Armed Forces during World War II. So that is a real rarity in and of itself. It's got proven World War II history. Next to it is one of the American Forces Jeeps, so nice to have them contrasting there as a pair. And then next to that, the Champ, which was of course Austin's spin-off or version. So, and then a bit of a contrast, the little Lee Francis P-Type Tourer, and next to that a Morgan Plus 8 that we believe was supplied new to Japan. But again, just a huge range of cars here, well over 200 in total. So if you get the opportunity to come down and have a look, please do. If you'd like to bid via online or via the telephone, please go to our website, www.h&h.co.uk. If you've got any questions about any of the vehicles, please give us a ring or drop us an email to info@h&h.co.uk. As I say, we're on view till 8 o'clock this evening. Doors open at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. There'll be a string quartet playing. And then once we get to the first of the fast road vehicles at 10 o'clock, that auction will carry on. We'll then have a quick break for a guest speaker, some canapes, a little bit of fun that way. And then the main auction will start at 12 o'clock midday. So we do hope you can make it. Any questions, I say, do contact us. And otherwise, thank you for watching.